So our first speaker for today is Marc Dechamps, Director of the International Affairs at BioWin, the health cluster of Wallonia. And Marc, I hand the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Jolien. So I'm going to share my screen, if I may. Everything was working so well before, so 1 second. So I have to make this short operation. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
yep.
yes, we can.
Very good. So thank you very much for inviting BioWin and me in particular for this very interesting meeting. First of all, I would like to apologize for the quality of my voice, but there are too much pollens in my area for the moment, and I'm very sensitive to that. So I hope to stay as clear as possible during my presentation. So as you nicely introduced BioWin, BioWin is the health cluster of Wallonia, or the health competitiveness cluster of Wallonia. BioWin was funded in 2006 by the Walloon government. And clearly the first type of activities was to develop, select and monitor research and innovation collaborative project. And step by step, BioWin expanded different new roles, being also responsible for the implementation of the sector's industrial policy, the strategy, which is now running since last year up to 2023, which is around biomanufacturing. And we support also the growth of the companies to develop and anchor not just the companies, but also the skills, the knowledge, the jobs, and the international business development. So collaborative innovation is the DNA of BioWin, and the mission is clearly to create a positive impact on the society with health innovation, but also to showcase Wallonia as a world-class licensed research environment, sometimes Wallonia, sometimes together with Flanders, Belgium, and with great pleasure. And so Wallonia is particularly strong in cell and gene therapy, in vaccines and biologics, and healthcare innovation in general terms. And specifically with regard to personalized medicine, I can say that Wallonia is a prime up and mature ecosystem for that, because since many years, Wallonia developed a cell therapy cluster, and we have one of the highest density for advanced therapy companies in the world. Now, cell therapy might be for regenerative medicine or immuno-oncology, like CAR-T or cancer vaccines. And certainly when we speak about autologous cell therapy, there we are completely in the personalized approach of the patient. And this is a fruitful soil for cell and gene therapy, because we have more than 50 service providers with very strong know-how and expertise in the region, and a very structured life science ecosystem with a strong range of state-of-the-art science park, incubators, as you know, and innovation centers. But specifically, and I have to speak about Belgium and not just Wallonia here. Wallonia is a top country for, or Belgium is a top country for clinical trials in Europe, and specifically in the field of ATMP, cell therapy, immuno-oncology, thanks also to the support of the regulatory agency, but also a very strong expertise in academic hospitals. And why is it so? I just want to comment the bottom of the slide where you see the 4 boxes. Actually, we have a very nice mixture of 4 ingredients. On one hand, the world-class academic and research centers we have in the region. On the second hand, we have quite a lot of biotech in full development for the moment, so biotech, SMEs, startups, and I'm sure you recognize some of the names. We have also large pharma companies with headquarters, R&D sites, and manufacturing facilities, which help the ecosystem to develop at the beginning, but which is now really working very well in collaboration with all the ecosystem, like GSK Vaccines, like UCB, Takeda. We are very pleased to have also Janssen Pharmaceutica, J&J, and Baxter, for instance. But we have also all the suppliers and the service providers, and specifically also some CDMOs in the field, very innovative ones like Universals with the CDMO branch created last year called Exotera. We have Eurogentech, which is now a company. Catalan Biologics created very recently the cell and gene therapy pole for Catalan in Europe by acquiring Master Cells last year and Delphi Genetics this year. And Thermo Fisher Scientific this year acquired Novacet Biologics, formerly Enogen, in Wallonia to develop also this type of activities in Europe. And all these ingredients, all these boxes are really supported by the government, by the federal government in one hand, but also by the regional government. And we have an interesting combination of regulatory and tax measures, but also incentive for biopharma R&D, which is really supported the development of this approach in our region. And I wanted today to focus on one company, which is really the company specialized in theranostic and in personalized medicine. This company is called OncoDNA, the cancer theranostic company. And the objective of this company is really to make sure that the patient will, the oncology patient will receive the right medical care at the right time during the course of their treatment and unfortunately their disease. So the goal is, I'm sure you know that even if you or the patient are suffering from the same type of cancer, so you might have different type of mutations. So it means that not one solution will fit all the situations. So you need to adapt depending on the type of mutation by the tumor. And that's what they do. They support the genomic profiling. They propose treatment decisions are taken by the oncologist. They follow the outcome of the patient. They continue to monitor, analyze, and adapt also the recommendation. Donc, OncoDNA, the goal is to target the right treatments, to prescribe the right treatments to the right patients at the right time. That's really a personalized approach. And just to give you a bit more details, still in a nutshell. So they are looking for the patient personal profile. So they have different solutions for that. And this is all the analysis process based also on the raw data from external providers, the pathology labs, and so on and so on. And they are putting these data into the database, and they have a very huge database now of containing 4 million variants, more than 1,200 drugs, 5,000 clinical trials analyzed, 20,000 tests performed. So they got a lot of information from their test as well, and more than 1,000 biomarkers. And everything is processed, and the reporting is shared with the oncologist. The oncologist is, in this case, providing, based on the informed decision, the best treatment for the patient, but also continuously working with the pathologist and the molecular biologist, because this type of mutation can evolve over time in a tumor. And they're also in contact with the pharma and the biotech industry in order to get the most important and relevant and recent information. So there is a test phase, a knowledge sharing phase, a treatment decision phase, and a continuous clinical follow-up. And it works very well because if you look to the footprint of this company OncoDNA was created in 2012, and now is growing very, very fast. Also doing some acquisition in France recently, and you see that they have 115 collaborators in 7 countries already, 35 distributors active on all continents, a business of more than 17 million euros in 2020. And they have now entities for sure in Wallonia and in France, as I just mentioned, the acquisition, but also in Spain, and they started also to go to the US. But they have collaboration with big players, as you can see, all over the world already, with G&G, Cura Oncology, Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, well known, but also big, which is the Breast International Group, and Institut Jules Bordet with Martin Picard as one of the leading leading center in the field of breast cancer, and Bayer and others. So this is OncoDNA in a nutshell, and this is really a personalized approach, very successful actually, and at the benefit of the patient. And for the sake of time, I will stop here, but I'm really pleased to take any of your questions now.
Thanks, Marc, for this interesting presentation. So I've understood that Wallonia has an updated smart specialization. So what's the updated smart specialization of Wallonia?
Actually, it was a narrowed down process because as many of the regions, we were a bit too broad at the beginning. So what we are focusing on today is really what is about biomanufacturing. It means cell and gene therapy, bioproduction, as you can imagine, vaccines. Wallonia is really the ground and very fruitful soils for vaccines, not just because of GSK vaccines, but for different other reasons. This is really the big chunk of the activities we have in Wallonia. So, but next to that, we continue to stimulate the development of radiation applied to health. We have some world leader like IBA for proton therapy, but also theranostic companies in that field, using antibodies or fragment antibodies with radioisotope. And digital health is certainly something we want to continue to develop. We are not telling you that we are the best on this aspect, but that's really one of the biggest strategic imperative of Wallonia to stimulate digital health development.
Mm-hmm. And so the cluster is a crucial element in the implementation of the smart specialization strategy.
Yeah, definitely. That's the main actor. So again, we are not acting instead of the companies, but what we do is really to foster all the energy and activities of the Walloon region, and in a way to try to put all this energy into research innovation projects. So we have for at least 3-4 calls a year, and quite a lot of projects which are selected. So that's a very severe process, to be honest, but once it is selected, it goes to the Walloon region, and you can raise non-dilutive money for up to 4 million euros with a high level of subsidy, even for companies and for academic groups. But also we gather the people together, and we try to make sure that we can connect and accelerate innovation, not just within the region, but also within Belgium with our colleagues from Flanders, and equally around and across Europe, and where it makes sense, like North America and some countries in Asia.
Yeah, and so the cluster dates back from 2006, so you have a lot of experience already. And what has been the evolution over the years?
But the evolution, as I mentioned very quickly at the beginning, well, it is all about innovation. So we started at BioWin to support the research innovation projects, and it was really the goal to, in a way, try to create the new industry in Wallonia, because you all know that we are coming from the steel industry, and it was an economic imperative to develop new industries. And now I can tell you that the biopharma sector of Wallonia represents 35% of the total export of the region. We have also a very impressive biologistic hub, and all the facilities, and some of them we are sharing with our Flemish colleagues, that's clear, but some of them are typically Walloon. Just to give you an example, so the airport of Liège was selected 1 year ago by the WHO to be the hub for biologistic for COVID-19 transportation, whatever it is, treatment, vaccines, or mask, of everything. And that's definitely what is happening in Wallonia. And from a BioWin perspective, again, we are not only focusing on the research innovation project, but we are also really now supporting the growth and the internationalization of the companies as well.
Mm-hmm. And so what would you recommend to the other regions if they want to implement such a cluster and such personalized health industry?
But in my view, at least that's what I used to say, because I have also the pleasure to be president of the Council of European Bioregions. We have 42 clusters all across Europe, and we hope to have more and more clusters also from Central and Eastern Europe joining CBAR in the future. But it's to build on your strengths and not to try to do everything, because that's very attractive to try to be everywhere, but it's not for me the right recipe. The recipe is look to your strengths and try to focus on them and try to create a critical mass and then expand to other things. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, but so indeed you have also the education and so on, and that's on another level. If you have to adapt your courses in the universities and the health sector for their education, so it's a long running, I suppose.
It's a long running. So at BioWin, we have the chance to have the universities in the cluster. And by the way, the board of BioWin is composed either by big enterprise, by biotech or small SMEs, and all the universities. So this is a very nice platform for the people to start to discuss between the education and the industry. And but clearly the most important stretch we have today, and that's something which is unfortunately common all across Europe for the moment, and not just Europe, is the fact that we are not producing enough talents to sustain the development we have. We have a very high-speed development in Wallonia. And now the stretch is there, and that's the reason why there are some initiatives, and hopefully also supported by Europe, like the creation of a biotech school, on top of what we have already within the universities and the education organization. And the goal is really BioWin created a consortium with the major players, put everybody in contact, and what we have decided based also on a study made across Europe is not to redo what colleagues in the different countries are doing, but try to do something which is complementary and using virtual reality, augmented reality to try to speed up actually education in the field of life science, biomanufacturing, as I mentioned also, because it's the big chunk of the activities we have in Wallonia. Yeah, and hopefully it will be officially, it is already announced, but it should be officially announced in a while.
Thanks a lot, Marc.